Happy New Year! It's 2025 and where are you?
We're in Carlisle.
That's right, we're in Carlisle, the largest and only city in Cumbria, and it's only
10 miles south of Scotland.
If you don't know us, I'm Rachel, he's Wills, and we are Postcard and a Pint. So join us for some pubs, pasta and pints as we delve into captivating Carlisle. Now where on earth are you driving? At first thought, you might think they're driving through the middle of M&S. And you'd be right, that's the way to the car park. Don't mind us, missus. It's good to be back. We've not been to this hotel for 10 years. It still looks the same, smells the same, and the happy memories came flooding back. Our room was lovely, and now we're all unpacked. Let's hear some history of this mighty grand dame of a hotel.
There's always been a coaching inn on this site, but this building, the Crown and Mitre, was built in 1905.
And have there been any distinguished guests?
And did you know that Woodrow Wilson, the American president, once stayed here in 1918 as his mother's family were from Carlisle?
So there you are, American friends. Even a former president has stayed here. Right, let's address the city centre. Usually this area has the most fabulous Christmas lights and is a magical place to be. It seems this year that huge renovations are underway, and in the not too distant future, it's going to look amazing. Right, let's fly on to our next location. Tell us what it is, Rach.
This building behind me is the Old Town Hall. It was built in 1669 to host the local council.
Today it houses the tourist office and some cute cafes and shops. Now this may look like just a post box, but it has a very cool story. Rach?
This post box is just a replica of the one before it, but the one before it was installed in 1853, and did you know it was the first post box in the whole of mainland Britain?
So there you go, a celebrity post box. We've only just stepped outside the door of the hotel and we've seen so much already. This geezer is James Steele, a former mayor of Carlisle and once editor of the Carlisle Journal. And this is the Old Market Cross, built in 1682. Good luck with holding a market with all these renovations going on. Right, let's drop down back to earth and get us another old Carlisle building fact.
This timber-framed medieval house was built in 1407 and is one of the city's oldest. It used to be the merchant's house.
Yes, it housed the administrative centre for merchants, skinners, tanners, butchers, shoemakers, smiths, tailors and weavers. They had a meeting room each.
But now it's a tasty Italian and one of our favourite restaurants, and later we'll be going in.
A much appreciated change of use. Now where are we? Fisher Street. And
Fisher Street is one of the oldest streets in Carlisle.
And a very pretty street it is too. But wait, Wills has also found an old building. It's a pub. There's a surprise. This building of the King's Head dates from 1829, but there's been a pub on this site since the 10th century. That means
There's been ale for sale here for over 1,000 years. Ooh.
it certainly does. And talking of ale, here's a great story about Carlisle's pubs. Opposite this pub once stood the headquarters for the State Management Control Board. They introduced a scheme called the State Management Scheme. But what was this?
This was a mid-20th century experiment to nationalise all of Carlisle's pubs.
Now, there are a lot of pubs in Carlisle, and in 1916, in the midst of World War I, Carlisle needed to keep the munitions workers sober, so by nationalising the pubs, they could restrict the sale of alcohol.
Restrict the sale of alcohol?
Yes, Wills, and it was so successful it ran until 1973.
The alcohol content in drinks was reduced, pubs were encouraged to serve food, and also have live music.
Whatever. Pint time.
So much appreciation for history has our Wills. The boardroom is a cracking little pub though, and Wills got his full alcohol content pint. It was only a few days after Christmas, so the decorations were looking stunning. Cheers to the pair of you. Right, that's enough daytime boozing. We've got more to see. Next up, the old Victorian market. This side houses the now closed Wilco's and also TK Maxx. But a swift journey through, and you're in the more traditional side. This market hall was built between 1887 and 1889 for the Carlisle Corporation. It's really impressive.
And it's one of a handful of covered Victorian market halls still in use today.
Check out its incredible glass ceiling. And a fact from you, Wills, please.
And not only is it a market hall, but it's also been a music venue, and bands such as AC/DC, Thin Lizzy and The Who have played this very venue.
It's more your cup of tea kind of place these days. But now it's time to leave the market behind and move on. As we've said, we've been to Carlisle before, but this next place is certainly where my love for Carlisle began. Fill us in, Rach.
We're now at the Sand Centre, and this building is one of the reasons why I love Carlisle so much. Over the years, I choreographed 5 pantos here and had the best time, made the best friends, and had the best memories. Sadly, when the rack concrete scandal hit the UK a few years back, this building had to shut because it was riddled with it. It looks so different today. We're going to go inside now and take a look around.
It looks like they've opened the leisure centre side of things, but the theatre is still very much under construction, although they are advertising for shows this autumn. It looked so different, and it was hard to remember it as it was. I think we may have rehearsed here. The views look familiar. It was a fun trip down memory lane, and under all the scaffolding you could still see the old building, looking like a sad Asda from the 1980s. We were supposed to be meeting up with our friends, and who we call our Carlisle family, on this trip. David, the director of said pantos, and his wife Sally. Sadly, they both got ill, so it wasn't to be. Get well soon, guys, and we'll get back to the city centre. Now, the Lanes is Carlisle's indoor shopping precinct, and it seems to have fared quite well, as most units seem occupied and open. At the far end, you'll find a giant stag at Christmas and a statue of Jimmy Dyer year-round. He was an itinerant fiddler and is a much-loved symbol of Carlisle. It was now time to wander through the quaint back streets and seek out the magnificent cathedral. She may be small, but she's certainly mighty.
Carlisle Cathedral is one of the smallest in England, but has one of the largest windows. Let's go take a look.
The cathedral still had its Christmas tree festival on, and looked amazing. The east window is 51 feet high and 26 feet wide, and still contains much of its original medieval glass. It might be the second smallest cathedral in England, but the interior is absolutely stunning, and it's well worth a visit. In the cathedral grounds, you'll find the dormitory ruins. These date back to the 13th century and offer a glimpse into the cathedral's monastic origins. Leaving the cathedral via the Tithe Barn, you arrive at St Cuthbert's Church. There's been a church on this site since 685 AD. The building you see today dates from 1778, and although not as grand and flashy as its cathedral neighbour, it's still a beautiful church. Behind St Cuthbert's and the cathedral, you'll find the West Wall. Now, we've not mentioned the Romans yet, don't worry, they're coming up, but Carlisle was a Roman city, and the Romans loved a wall.
And this is one of the best preserved sections of the city walls.
When these walls were complete, they stretched for 2.2 kilometres and encircled the old city. Right, I don't know about you, but I'm shattered with all this walking and need a sit down. Yes, something like that would do. But Will says no. There are still more sights to be seen before a seat is to be found. We're now at the Citadel, and as I'm getting hungry, this will be a potted history. Here we go. Commissioned as a fortress by Henry VIII, completed in 1541, then was a prison and after a crown court. But its position in the city carries a bold message.
Now, the Citadel is on the south side of the city, but most attacks came from the north, from the Scots. The message or statement being that they'd rather see Carlisle flattened than fall to the Scots.
Those pesky Scots always straying south. Someone should build a wall or something to keep them out. Spoiler alert, we're going there later. And now Wills would like to share with you one of the culinary highlights of his life.
This pizza shop here used to be called Pizza A Go-Go, and this is where I learnt about the famous Donna pizza.
Right, that's it, enough. We're going for a sit down, then food. Hello, Crown and Mitre. See you later. For now, it's the King's Head for us, a sit down and a drink. Cheers. This is a lovely friendly pub, and we quickly made friends with Helen and Colin from Scotland at the next table.
Hello from Carlisle. Lovely weekend away.
We do love the Scottish accent, and it was so nice to meet you both. And we've no clue if this was a stag do or a normal Saturday night in Carlisle. Cheers, King's Head. Now it's across the street to Franco's and some lush Italian food. None of your Donna pizzas here. No, it's wine. Cheers, Wills. Then it's some garlic bread, pasta and pizza. A top meal out indeed. Over to you.
We've just been for a lovely meal, we're having a bit of a wander, then we're going to go back to the hotel. See you there.
And by wander, he means a trip to the station and a walk down Botchergate. Here we go again. It's walking time. This is Carlisle train station, possibly how you would arrive at Carlisle. And here's the 8:13 to London Euston. Outside the station, you'll find a cute postbox topper, mysterious passageways and Botchergate, Carlisle's nightlife street. From crusty cobblers to Chinese food, from retro clubs to cinemas, you'll find it all down Botchergate. Even travellers with their horse and traps. They didn't impress Wills, though.
Tickets.
Well said, Wills. And now it's time to return to the Crown and Mitre and enjoy a nightcap in one of our favourite hotel bars in the world. This is such a charming hotel, and many a good night has been enjoyed here at Panto time. It's also a dog-friendly hotel, and there were dogs here, there, and, oh no, that's me, enjoying a nice drink before bed, and loving that there's a poodle at the next table. There we were in the bar minding our own business when the darts pops up on TV. 2 dancers I've taught are currently working on this, Amy and Jodie. Amy was on this night and also knows this bar all too well, as her very first job was in the Carlisle Christmas Spectaculars many years ago. You go, Amy, and we'll raise a glass to you. Right, time to stop petting the poodle, and that isn't a euphemism. It's time for bed. We're all tucked up with a bit of Generation Explorers and Amy does cruising. Night-night! Morning! That was a cracking night's sleep. Now let's make our way to the main building as...
It's breakfast time!
Yes, our room had been in the annex, but one of our favourite rooms in this hotel is the big banqueting room where they serve breakfast. And the breakfast at the Crown and Mitre is delicious and plentiful. Get yourself some sustenance, kids. There's a full day of exploring to go. Top work to the pair of you. We've stayed in this side of the hotel too over the years, so we had a little nose around. Then we made our way back over to the annex, packed up our stuff and packed up our car, as where are you off to today?
We're off to Carlisle Castle.
The Crown and Mitre very kindly let us leave our car in their car park for a couple of hours as we went off to explore the castle. This is Abbey Street. It's a pretty cobbled street which has several 18th and 19th century buildings on it. I enjoyed the stroll, but Wills of course found...
It's a vinyl cafe. Let's go look inside.
It's Abbey Street, lad, not Abbey Road. But of course, he went in for a good mooch around. OK, stop mooching. We've got a castle to find. To be honest, it's not that difficult to find. It's at the bottom of this street. Also on this street is the Tully Museum and Gardens. This is a huge Jacobean mansion that is now a museum, art gallery and community hub. Back on Abbey Street, the buildings are so pretty. Isn't this just the best front and front door to a building you've ever seen? After a slow meander, we finally made it down to the main road and the front of the Tully Museum. And over the road was the castle. There's been a castle here since 1092, and walking over the drawbridge, you could feel the history of days gone by surrounding you. Happily, this is an English Heritage Run site, and as we've been CADU members for over a year, who do the English think they are? Well, very generous. That's free entry. This castle was an active military department until fairly recently. The grounds still house the Museum of Military Life today. But today we're here to explore the castle and its stories. This is the second castle to have stood on this site. Tell us a bit more, Rach.
This castle is so cool. It dates from 1122 and Henry I ordered it to secure the border with Scotland.
That's over 900 years old. We enjoyed exploring the dungeons where prisoners would be tightly packed together. Sometimes the only form of moisture to be found was in the walls. These grooves have been worn by prisoners licking at the walls for water. Onward we went up the old winding stairs. Up on the second floor you'll find this beautiful room and also these fascinating doodles, thought to have been carved by bored prison guards back in the 15th century. The views from up here are amazing, from windows bigger than me. We walked around the ramparts, enjoying not only the views over the castle and barracks, but out over Carlisle too. The cannons faced firmly towards Scotland. There'll be no invasions today. There have been many guests at the castle over the centuries, but this one fascinated us.
In the 16th century, Mary, Queen of Scots, resided here for a few weeks after fleeing rebellions against her in Scotland.
OK, it was more of a house arrest, but...
And this is the site of the tower where she stayed.
The English Heritage volunteer was so knowledgeable and told us about her stay here, how much it cost, and how she then meandered from stately home to castle southwards, seeking refuge for the next 19 years until she was beheaded in 1587. What a fascinating visit we'd had.
That's Carlisle all done, castle and all. Now we're off to Hadrian's Wall.
It was back to the Crown and Mitre to get the car, then a quick exit through M&S. Don't mind us, missus. And then we were off in search of the wall. We drove down narrow lanes and through quaint villages until...
That's taken us about 30 minutes drive from Carlisle, and this place really is in the middle of nowhere. We've been driving through countryside, but I'm so excited to see this. This wall was started in AD 122 under the rule of Hadrian, the Roman emperor.
We've come to Bird Oswald Fort, and amazingly, it's another English heritage site, so free to enter once again. This is the largest section of the wall still intact. It was incredible to see, but now it was time to head inside to the fort to find out more. All along Hadrian's Wall were large forts and smaller mile castles, meaning people could live at the wall and protect the border of the Roman Empire. The gift shop was full of Hadrian's Wall and Roman Britain memorabilia, but who was Hadrian? This brilliant display takes you all the way through the story. I don't know why the Romans came to Britain. The weather's atrocious and they wore tunics. But to protect the northern frontier of the empire from invaders, Hadrian ordered the wall to be built. They show an incredible 5-minute video superimposing the wall onto today's landscape and showing you Bird Oswald as it once was. We enjoyed every second of this film and learnt a lot. There was no quarrying or tunnelling. This wall went over every ridge and mountain in its path. At 4.5 metres high and 3 metres wide, it was quite the feat of engineering. It was time to move outside and see the remains of the fort. In the 1840s, Henry Norman bought the estate, built this house and carried out the first excavations. To think that this was once an important base for some 1,000 Roman soldiers is fascinating. And how's the weather, kids? I think in nicer weather we would have stayed longer, but we were so glad we'd made the effort and come to visit this incredible piece of history. Round it up, Rach, and send us back to Wales.
It's absolutely pouring down. The weather when you get near Scotland isn't great, but we'll see you back at home for a sum up.
Happy New Year, everyone, and let's hope that 2025 is going to be an absolute belter.
Indeed.
Now, wasn't it lovely to be back in Carlisle?
It was so nice. It's been a long time since we've been
we
there.
love it up there, and we really love the Crown and Mitre Hotel.
I love the Crown and Mitre. I hope you don't mind me telling this story.
Oh, go on then.
But many years ago, we mentioned that Rachel used to do the pantomimes up there. So we're talking 15 years or so ago. And one night, Rachel's mum and dad, when they were still with us, they'd gone to see the pantomime in Carlisle.
But we were at home.
We were at home. They were staying in the Crown and Mitre.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of friends round, and we were so drunk that night. I mean, it was 15 years ago. We're not like that now. Dry January, cup of tea. So anyway, so we were here. We had a long night. We were very drunk, and we suddenly get a phone call. And so Rachel tries to pretend she's sober. She answers the phone. And it's her mum.
Yeah.
And she says, we're stuck in the lift in the Crown and Mitre, but we can't get hold of reception.
Well, it was before smartphones, so literally all she had in her phone book was me and my sister. Why she always went for me, I don't know. But anyway, she phoned me. She went, will you phone the front desk and tell them we're stuck in the lift?
So that's what Rachel had to do whilst pretending to act sober.
Absolutely drunk. And they got out, so obviously it worked. I really can't remember what happened that night. But
it's funny though,
we have so many lovely, lovely memories. Do you know what? Hadrian's Wall. I loved it.
Yeah.
Really loved it.
Yeah.
Every time I've worked up there, which is more than the 5 pantos, I've done summer schools up there, I've done Christmas shows up there.
We've done the Carlisle Christmas Spectaculars. I've worked on a couple of those as well.
You pass signs for it all over the place, and because you're working, you're like, oh, I really want to go, really want to go. Finally went, okay, it's not as big and as grand and impressive, but
there's not much of it left, is
when
there?
you think when it was built, and that film was amazing.
And what it was, yeah.
Yeah, what it was. It's just incredible.
Indeed.
Right.
It's a shame it was raining.
Yeah.
It was also a shame as well, David and Sally, our good
Yeah.
friends from there, the panto director, that they weren't very well, so we couldn't meet up. Next time, David. Next time, Sally.
David. Yeah, you were supposed to be the guest star, David.
Yeah.
On this video, not on it now.
mind.
Right, let's round it up. Have you made any New Year's resolutions?
No.
No, apart from dry January.
Yeah.
That's as far as it's going so far.
Every year I say I'm going to drink less, I'm going to get healthier.
No. We've got a couple of trips coming up this year. I can't even remember if we've ever told on this. We're going on the
P&O Ventura in a few weeks' time to Amsterdam for a 4-night cruise.
And we're also going up to Tromsø in Norway in search of the Northern Lights at the end of February.
Feeding reindeers, get to go on a reindeer sleigh. I will be Father Christmas.
That's all we've got booked at the moment, but we are really excited. We're going to book some more.
We'll tell you more about that
as we go.
Future.
So
we should probably round it up, really.
We should. If you'd like this video, that would be lovely.
Hit that button, hit the subscribe button, do all of that. It really, really helps. We love the comments. We always answer.
Leave us a comment.
Yeah, it's great.
Where would you like to see us go this year? Probably can't afford it, but right. Let's round this up. As we say for the first time in 2025, cheers to the good times.
With a cup of tea.
What do you call a Roman with a cold?
I don't know.
Julius Sneezer!
Oh.